What's going on, everybody? It's Rev, and welcome back to another Dauntless video. A build like this has been requested a lot. An all-rounder sword build that requires minimal cell movement and can slay all the behemoths that you could possibly want to hunt. I use this build all the time as my daily grinding set, or if I'm feeling lazy and don't feel like moving around builds. It works great, has good damage, and is overall a well-balanced build. However, while you don't need to move around cells, it still requires that you change your weapon. So I want to go over the build in real time, just so you guys can see what's going on underneath the hood. The big notes is that the weapon is the only thing that's changing. This build does have some setup, but the main part of the setup is just putting all the cells that I've put into the armor. So the armor never changes, but your weapon does. And so you really want to lock in this portion of the build with these 5 pieces. And so I'll go over them individually so you can see what's going on. The Hellplate Cask has +3 Rage Hunter and a +3 Predator cell. The Hellplate Cuirass has +3 Molten and a +3 Predator cell. The Hellplate Bracers have +3 Molten and a Rage Hunter cell. And Dance of the Swarm, which is the Careback Boots, has +3 Conditioning and +3 Overpower. The Draft's Eye has Etheric Attunement. I highly recommend Etheric Attunement. It gives extra lantern charge, but it also has the added effect of lowering the cooldown of your tap ability. And that's what makes it so good. The tap ability on the Draft's Eye is 30% increased damage for 6 seconds, and so you'll get that 30% more frequently with Etheric Attunement. On the right, we can look at all of our perks, and these 4 are the ones that we're looking for. This is where all of our supportive cells, which is +3 Conditioning and +3 Etheric Attunement, and our 4 DPS cells are all innate in our armor. And so no matter what weapon we change to, we're always going to have +6 Molten, +6 Overpower, +6 Predator, +6 Rage Hunter, +3 Etheric Attunement, and +3 Conditioning. This is a very strong template for the sword, and so we'll get into the swords. The Inferno's Razor has 2 power sockets, and so I just put sharpened in them because none of the other power sockets really offer anything that I'm really keen on having. Like, you could go Knockout King so you can play into your Overpower, but sharpened also breaks parts, which triggers Overpower as well, and you also get the break parts. So I like sharpened over Knockout King, excuse me, but you can do whatever you choose because these are kind of just free sockets. The Inferno's Razor is just good on its own, so it doesn't really matter what you put in here. So let's move into another sword, though. A key component to this build is it's only usable on swords that have 1 power socket or more. You'll see with the Onus of Boreas, it has +3 Conditioning, and that pushes our Conditioning up to 6 right here. And I have a +3 Overpower in the cell and a Fireproof because I really only use it on Scorchstone Hellion. So that helps me there. But you can see the build has kind of shifted. I still have my Molten, I still have my Overpower, Predator, Rage Hunter, +3 Etheric Attunement, and then these 2, I got +6 Conditioning because the Onus has it, and +3 Fireproof. So the build changes. It's evolving, but it's not evolving in a way where I'm losing damage other than Etheric Attunement. But sometimes you just can't be running Etheric Attunement, which is fine. But if we go with the Sovereign's Torment, we have Etheric Attunement again, and we gain +3 Sharpened and 3 Conditioning again. So you can see how this build is just very, very versatile and very it's usable. Like, that's the main thing, is you don't have to sub out anything. So we'll go to Valamir's. I opted for Aether Hunter here because I only use it in Umbral fights. And we lose a little bit of Overpower, but we keep Etheric Attunement and Aether Hunter, which is very strong against Riftstalker and Shroud. So we'll do one more. Actually, we'll do 2 more. With the Draft Sword, we gain a little bit of Energized. I like Energized for the sword. I think +3 is really good for the sword and also the Warpike, but we're talking about the sword. I really like getting into overdrive a couple more times throughout a fight. It just feels more balanced. And so we get +3 energize and +3 conditioning, which is my ideal supportive setup, and +6 etheric attunement, so we don't lose out on anything. Honestly, I feel like this is the best setup. If you're ever up against any Terra behemoths, then you're gonna be your elemental affinity is there, so you're dealing extra damage, and you also get all the good stuff that I enjoy on the sword. Last thing, this build is also usable on the hunger, so if you have the hunger and you want to play out like this cookie cutter build and start learning it that way, it's a really good build. It's a nice setup, so try that out if you're so keen. The reason why we don't have a third or a second supportive cell is because the hunger doesn't have a +3, so you might be wondering why that is, but I assure you it's just because the hunger doesn't have a +3. That's going to do it for this like little live portion of the video, and we'll cut to some of the fights and see how we're doing. As stated before, this build is always evolving while still maintaining your key damage components. This build requires that you have a lot of cells to set up for the optimal convenience, but even if you have half of the cells, moving stuff around isn't hard and works just fine if you're a die-hard sword main. If you don't have the cells or don't really know how to get more, I highly recommend checking out my cell vendor guide that is located on this channel. I go over the entire process of getting the most out of the cell vendor and include my insight on how to get more cells. You can also get cells from just completing hunts and doing the mastery and hunt pass objectives. Getting cells is as easy as it's ever been. You just need to know where to look and how to use the tools given to you, which is admittedly taught very poorly by the game. But that's going to wrap up this build video. If you like this video, a like would be super appreciated. And if you want to see more Dauntless content like this, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. If you would like to hunt sometime, you can drop a follow on my Twitch channel to know when I go live. And if you want to support the channel, you can use creator code RevvyRad in the Dauntless in-game store or the Epic Games store. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you on the Shattered Isles.